Maya just put $50 into her brokerage app. Third month in a row. She takes a screenshot, posts it with a caption about building generational wealth, and gets 40 likes. 20 minutes later, she orders a $19 iced matcha, buys a $34 phone case because her old one felt old, and puts a $68 top through Klarna in 4 easy payments. She didn't think twice about any of it. She's not being reckless. She's not bad with money. She actually knows more about index funds than her parents ever will. And that's exactly what makes this so strange. Because by every measure that used to define financial literacy, Maya has it. She just also has the opposite of it, running at the same time, in the same week, out of the same 24-year-old brain. Now meet Ethan. Same age as Maya, same city, same starting salary. Ethan also has a brokerage account. He opened it 2 years ago after watching a finance creator explain compound interest, and he's genuinely proud of it. But Ethan's account has $90 sitting in it. Total. Not this month. Total since he opened it. He deposited that $90 once, screenshotted it, posted it, got the same kind of validation Maya gets every month, and never funded it again. In the 2 years since, Ethan has spent an estimated $11,000 on clothing hauls, festival tickets, and subscription boxes he mostly forgot he had. Maya and Ethan look almost identical from the outside. Both invest, both post about investing, both would tell you, honestly, that they're building wealth. Only one of them actually is. And the difference between them isn't intelligence, income, or even discipline in the way you'd expect. It's which system each of them is quietly optimizing for. Here's the number that should stop you. Gen Z has the highest rate of investing app usage of any generation their age has ever had. Roughly half of them started before 25. Their parents, on average, didn't start until their 30s. On paper, that's the most financially advanced generation in history. And in the same breath, Gen Z also has the fastest growing rate of buy now, pay later usage of any age group, and a rising share of them are missing payments on purchases under $100. Not big purchases, small ones. The kind that don't feel like debt because they don't feel like anything. Recent survey data puts the share of Gen Z BNPL users who've made a late payment at roughly 2 in 5, nearly double the rate among older users of the same apps. So the same generation leading the pack on investing participation is also leading the pack on missing payments for phone cases and concert merch. Both of those facts are true about the same people, often the same week.
Zoom out further, and the picture gets stranger. Gen Z is opening brokerage accounts at a pace that outstrips every prior generation at the same age. And a meaningful share of that group also carries revolving BNPL balances across multiple apps at once, often without realizing the total, because each app only shows its own slice of the debt. No single provider shows you the full picture. Klarna doesn't know what you owe Afterpay. Afterpay doesn't know what you owe Affirm. Your brain, meanwhile, treats each app as its own separate, contained decision, which means the actual total sitting across all of them is a number almost nobody in this generation has ever consciously calculated for themselves. That's not a flaw in any one person. That's what happens when the infrastructure itself is built to fragment the picture into pieces too small to trigger concern. So how does the most financially literate generation also become the generation drowning small debts in installments they can't quite track? It's not ignorance. It's not carelessness. It's a specific psychological trap, and it runs on 4 layers, stacked on top of each other, each one reinforcing the next. Layer 1. The apps made investing feel small, which made it feel optional. Robinhood, Cash App, all of them removed the friction that used to make investing feel serious. No paperwork,
no advisor, no minimum that actually stings. You can start with $5, and that's genuinely good. Except it also means investing stopped feeling like a commitment and started feeling like a habit you could skip. Maya's $50 a month isn't a financial plan. It's closer to a subscription she pays herself. Real, but small enough that her brain never treats it as the priority. Ethan's $90 one time is the extreme version of this same layer. He didn't quit investing. He just never felt the absence of it because the app never nagged him the way a missed BNPL payment does. Low friction going in means low friction going nowhere too.
Layer 2. The feed didn't just show them other people's lives. It showed them a price tag on identity. Every generation has had social comparison. What's different for Gen Z is that the comparison is constant, algorithmic, and dressed up as authenticity. It's not a magazine ad telling you to want something. It's someone who looks exactly like you, your age, your accent, your bedroom, showing you their haul, their setup, their outfit. And it reads as a friend, not a marketer. The arrival signal for Gen Z isn't a house or a title. It's the aesthetic, the fit, the desk setup, the drink in your hand in the photo. And unlike a house, an aesthetic needs to be refreshed constantly because the feed refreshes constantly. You can't buy the look once and be done. You have to keep buying it, to keep being seen having it. Ethan's $11,000 in hauls is that refresh cycle running uninterrupted for 2 straight years, one small purchase at a time. Layer 3. Buy now, pay later removed the one signal that used to stop a bad purchase, which is feeling the total price at once. When you split a $68 top into 4 payments of $17, your brain doesn't process it as spending $68. It processes it as spending $17 4 separate times on 4 separate days, each one small enough to not register as a decision. Do that across 6 or 7 purchases a month, and you've got a wall of tiny installments landing on different days, none of which felt significant when you clicked buy, all of which are very significant when they land together. Ethan has, at any given time, somewhere between 4 and 6 of these installment plans running in parallel. He couldn't tell you the exact total without checking because no single purchase ever asked him to look at the full number. Layer 4, and this is the one that makes the whole thing tick. Investing became content. Gen Z didn't just start investing, they started posting about investing. And the moment something becomes content, the goal quietly shifts from doing the thing to being seen doing the thing. Maya's screenshot of her $50 contribution gets more social reward, more comments, more validation than the actual outcome of that $50 will generate for another decade. Ethan's one-time $90 post got him the exact same validation Maya gets monthly, which is precisely the problem. The performance of financial responsibility is instant. The result of financial responsibility is not. So the brain, which is wired to chase the faster reward, quietly starts optimizing for the post instead of the portfolio. Once you've collected the social reward for looking like an investor, there's less internal pressure to actually keep being one. None of these 4 layers are stupidity. Each one, on its own, is completely rational. Small investing is good. Wanting to look good is human. Payment flexibility can be useful. Sharing your wins is healthy. The trap isn't any single layer. It's what happens when all four run simultaneously, because they cancel each other out. The investing habit builds real wealth slowly, in the background, unseen. The spending habit builds visible identity, quickly, in public, celebrated. And when one is loud and immediate, and the other is quiet and delayed, guess which one your daily decisions actually follow? Let's run the real numbers on both of them, because this is where it stops being a vibe and starts being math. Maya's $50 a month into an index fund, growing at a typical long-run average, becomes real money over time. Genuinely real. If she does nothing else, in 30 years, that $50 habit compounds into something worth celebrating, somewhere in the range of $150,000. But in that same month, Maya is also spending somewhere around $200 on things whose only real function is how they look in a photo or on her feed. Not rent, not groceries, not anything that keeps the lights on. Purely aesthetic spend. That's 4 times her investing contribution, every single month, going toward a version of wealth that evaporates the second the trend cycles. Ethan's numbers are starker. His $90, invested once and left alone for 30 years, grows into a few $100s. Meaningful as a lesson, meaningless as a retirement plan. His $11,000 in hauls, spread across the same period, produced nothing that still exists. No asset, no resale value worth mentioning, no compounding. If Ethan had simply redirected that $11,000 into the same account over those 2 years, at even a modest contribution rate, he'd be looking at a 5-figure portfolio right now, instead of a screenshot from 24 months ago. Put another way, Ethan has spent roughly 120 times more on hauls than he's ever put into his own future, while telling anyone who asks that he's into investing. That gap doesn't show up anywhere on his feed, because nothing about a static screenshot ever ages in public. It just sits there, permanently accurate to the day it was taken, and permanently misleading about every day since. The gap between Maya and Ethan isn't that one of them understands investing and the other doesn't. Ethan can explain compound interest as well as anyone. The gap is entirely about which behavior each of them actually repeated. Here's the part that should actually unsettle you. If Maya redirected even half of her aesthetic spend into the same account she's already proud of, she wouldn't be investing $50 a month. She'd be investing $150. Same effort, same app, same screenshot, just a different number attached to it. The gap between the Gen Z who talks about financial freedom and the Gen Z who actually builds it isn't knowledge. They both know the same things. It's which number they let win by default, month after month, without ever consciously deciding it. So, what does closing that gap actually look like? Not a lecture about spending less. A specific set of moves. Step 1. Automate the investing contribution before you see the money, not after. If the $50 leaves your account the day you get paid, before it ever touches your everyday spending balance, it stops competing with the matcha and the phone case for your willpower. Willpower loses that fight every time. Automation doesn't need willpower. Step 2. Every time you're about to split a purchase into buy now, pay later, say the full price out loud before you confirm it. Not the $17, the $68.
Your brain responds differently to a number you actually heard than a number that was quietly hidden inside four smaller ones. This single habit alone kills a huge share of impulse BNPL purchases before they happen. Step 3. Pick one thing to make your actual content. If you're going to post about your finances anyway, and a lot of Gen Z already does, post the number that's actually growing, not the aesthetic that's actually draining. Let the algorithm reward the portfolio instead of the outfit. You're already doing the performance. Point it at the thing that compounds. Step 4. Add up every BNPL balance across every app in one place once. Not to shame yourself, just to see the real number instead of four fragmented ones. Most people who do this for the first time are surprised, not because the total is unreasonable, but because they genuinely had no idea what it was. You can't manage a number you've never actually looked at in full.
Step 5. Set a recurring reminder, once a quarter, to check the actual balance. Not the screenshot, the balance. Ethan's mistake wasn't malicious. It was invisible. Nobody forced him to ignore his own account for 2 years. The app just never made him look at it, and neither did anything else in his life. A single recurring check-in closes that gap without requiring any extra willpower day to day. Step 6. Every time your investing contribution goes up, whether it's a raise, a bonus, extra income, let the aesthetic spend stay exactly where it is. Don't scale both together. This is the one move that actually widens the gap in your favor, instead of just maintaining it. None of this requires Maya or Ethan to stop enjoying anything. Neither of them needs to cancel their subscriptions or swear off nice things or become a different person. They're both 24, and they're both already doing something most of their parents didn't do until they were 35. That's not nothing. The trap was never that they started investing too late or knew too little. The trap was that the culture around them rewards the appearance of financial progress faster and louder than it rewards the progress itself. And nobody ever told either of them which one was actually going to be there in 20 years.
So here's the question worth sitting with. When you post about your money, are you posting the number that's actually growing, or the number that's just being seen? Are you Maya, quietly compounding while you scroll? Or are you Ethan, holding a 2-year-old screenshot and calling it a plan? Tell me honestly in the comments, because the whole point of naming this trap out loud is that once you see it, you can't watch your own spending the same way again. It's connected some dots for you. Subscribe to The Real Numbers Show and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every day.